Hey, what's up guys? We're going to be looking at the Line 6 UX2 USB interface. Not to be confused with FireWire interfaces because those are made for a different kind of connection. This is USB, which is a little bit more versatile because all computers normally have USB. FireWire is kind of a specialty, I think, in Macintosh computers. We're going to be continuing with interfaces. If you guys haven't seen my last video on a very low-end beginner type of interface that gets the job done, click right over here and it'll take you to that one. But this is going to be a little bit of a step up from that one. This is going to be something that I might be using for all my interface needs. Actually, I am going to be using this for all my interface needs. It does a very good job at what it's supposed to do, and I'm going to review it for you guys here on the channel. First thing I want to talk to you guys about is the software in the box that it comes with. The box is really cool because everything that you need is within it, and I don't actually have it on me right now because it's kind of tossed around in the room. Within the box, you get Line 6 warranty and registration information. Everything is here, so it is replaceable if it does break, because Line 6 does have a good warranty. I haven't personally had to deal with them before, so if you guys ever have, then leave in the comments below how good they are for other people to see. I will try to reply to them to put them on the top of the list so other people can know what Line 6 is really like when it comes to calling them for your gear. I don't really know, but it seems like they know what they're doing because they do give you a lot of information and things like that to handle all your gear. The software is the real gold of this kind of interface. All interfaces usually come with some kind of software to help you out and start you off, but it might just be recording software. You don't know if you get anything that has amp models, which means that you might actually have to get your clean channel through a bunch of real effects into your computer if you only get some recording software. Or in this case, it comes with something that will give you modeling that's completely on the computer, so it can just be your instrument, this interface, some cables in between you, the interface, and the computer, and get you going because you don't really have to put anything in the way. You won't actually have to mic a cabinet or put a guitar effects in the way because all the effects and things are going to be on there. Unless, of course, you want to because you have something that this program can't offer, then you probably want to be able to run those things in, but you have that option anyway. It's not like you're limited to it, though, because you do have the software that it comes with, but you can do whatever you want. Of course, the modeling software that I'm talking about is called Pod Farm. This is an essentials pack of Pod Farm, meaning that there are some bass cabinets, a lot of guitar cabinets, a lot of guitar heads, a few good bass heads, effects in and out, gives you a lot of different options for modeling. This is going to be your main disc. You're going to have to load this on your computer because Line 6 works specifically with Pod Farm for modeling. Of course, you can get it to work with other things as well, but Pod Farm is going to be the best bet because it is a Line 6 to Line 6 product release. The next couple things that it comes with are all specifically recording only. RiffWorks 4 is a Sonoma Wireworks disc, and it comes with an essentials version of RiffWorks if you are familiar with it, if you want to try it out. Ableton Live 7, another essentials pack that it comes with, and it comes with a very good variety of things you can do in Ableton 7, again for recording and other kinds of things. Actually, all the software that it comes with can be used for recording this product and other things. It is a full-featured LE version of the higher-up versions software that can be used for recording, so you can do podcasts, record everything else, vocals, things like that, other interface devices. Not specifically just this one, you can use any interface device or anything like that that will take an interface device in the first place. The last one is Reason Adapted Propellerhead, which is the Line 6 edition. Again, another essential software that will run recording. This is probably the one that a lot of people use the most because it is probably the most intuitive out of all of them. It works the best, and it actually ended up working for me, but I don't use any of the software that it came with. I use something called Sony Acid Pro 7. It works really well for me. I use Sony Vegas. I use a lot of Sony software, so Sony Acid has been something that's made sense because I've been able to work in and around it and get some of the decent recordings that you're going to hear later on. Next, we're going to be talking about the features of the box in itself. It's got no knobs up front, it's got all the knobs on the top, and it's got connectors that are usually going out of it in the back, and connectors are going to be put in up front, with the exception of the headphones. Starting on the right over here, it's going to have two microphone inputs, two XLR inputs, with a plus 48 volt phantom power for condenser mics that need it. It works simultaneously, I've been told. I've never actually tried using both of them at the same time, but I have been told that you can use both mic inputs at the same time to record things simultaneously. But then again, you have to try that yourself. I might try it at one point. I haven't actually recorded any vocals using this, and I haven't really tested out the XLRs, but I've been told that it works that way. Next, you'll see there is instrument inputs for normal and pad. I'm not sure exactly what pad means, but I've actually been able to get a cut signal from the pad section. I've used all my noisy guitars, everything that has a lot of noise in my pad section, and it's actually worked a lot better. Those do not work simultaneously, meaning you cannot hook up a guitar and a bass at the same time in the normal and pad and expect to record. I'm not sure if it'll actually record in just one space itself, but I know for a fact you can't get 2 split channel recordings, and if you run both of them in at the same time, which I haven't experimented with, I'm not sure it's going to sound that great, so you're probably going to want to record one at a time with this. Next to that, it's got 2 UV meters. This is a really old school looking device. If you actually kind of hold it up like this, it looks like it was made a long time ago, especially if you scuff it up a little bit, and I think that's kind of cool. I think it's a nice little retro look. Right now it meters my input signal, meaning however much volume I'm putting into this device, both meters will go up and it'll tell me if I'm clipping by going all the way to the end. Again, that's something that's really cool and assignable. You can actually assign one as a meter that'll tell you how much volume you're pumping in, one telling you how much you're pumping out into the computer. You can assign it for different things, how much gain you're pressing into your rig, meaning you can have a clean channel and a dirty channel gain, and kind of use these meters for what they're for. Or you can just have them there for looks because they light up and they both move at the same time, and they're really cool. Of course, next to that is the headphone jack, which is going to come out into your ear set. That is the only part of the front face that's going to be coming out to you. Other than that, all the inputs are up front. If you turn it around, it's got 2 analog outs, it's got a monitor in, it's got a digital out, and a USB house, meaning a doghouse USB goes into this device, or from this device into a computer of any kind, laptop, desktop, anything that has a USB connection, because this thing is known to be a USB and not a FireWire connector box. But the monitor in is really cool because this thing can be set as a very miniature home studio. You can actually turn this thing into something that will be next to your computer all the time and kind of make a little small studio. You can have this sitting on your desk, running this out into 2 monitors instead of having headphones go into it, so you can hear yourself out loud, and you can just plug your instrument in or your microphone in at the front and just start recording. Not a lot of interfaces actually have monitor outs that I've seen so far. I've only seen maybe 2 or 3 of them that have actually been able to do this. I'm sure that they're available in a lot of them. I haven't just been looking in the right place, but this is one of the interfaces that actually has something that you can run monitors into. Out of those monitors, you don't actually have to have headphones. I prefer headphones myself, but again, if you want studio monitors, you might have a little bit of latency problems. Latency is something you probably want to Google because it's going to be something that I have to be explaining a lot, but it's basically a delay between when you're playing and when something is recorded. That's about as best as I can explain it in the briefest amount that I can possible. Line 6 does say that you won't have any latency problems or almost 0 latency problems, so you can run some monitors out of here and see what you think. Finally, you're going to see 2 line inputs and foot switch inputs. You can actually run foot switches into this device. In and out of here, you can run from your dirty channel to your clean channel, vice versa, things like that. Line 6 does make foot switches for a lot of their systems. I'm pretty sure this has one for itself, or you can use something else that Line 6 makes, but you can actually A and B your amps, you can do A, B on guitars and bass, you can kind of run things in here so you can run a foot switch and actually sit in one place, have everything at your foot basically, instead of going back and twisting and changing things on the device itself. Now if you look on the top, it's got a mic and mic 2 gain, so this is how much you're going to be putting in for the XLRs. The XLRs are actually treated a lot better on this system than the 1/4" jack input, so I think that that's kind of cool if you're going to be doing a lot of vocals, because this is, I guess, a vocalist's dream if it has all these things for XLR. But again, you can mic anything, and miking cabinets has been a favorite for a lot of people, so this mic input gain here is going to help a lot because you can actually run 2 things in here at the same time, have one with a lot of gain, one with a little bit less gain, and you can see how different things sound compared to one another. Coming over here, you'll see a tone direct output. This is going to be how much volume is coming out of this device itself, and this is going to be how much the headphone volume is going to be coming out to you. So all the knobs are on top, meaning they're not up here where you can be plugging things in and out and accidentally twist one of the knobs or turn things around and not get the best recording possible, or end up blowing your eardrums out. So all the knobs being on top is actually kind of cool because they're going to be pretty stationary once they're there like that. So you're not going to want to move them around too much and accidentally hit the knobs. And it's kind of cramped up here because it is a small device, so you might want to have the knobs in a different place rather than the front. So I think that's a really cool idea. We're now going to get into how it sounds, but before I get to that, I'm going to tell you a little bit about the equipment that I'm using and how I'm using this device. I, as you've heard before, am not using many of the features that the interface comes with, so there are very different things that you can do with it than I can do with it, because I don't sit here and use every single feature and effect that is available on the box. I do, however, use some of the minimal amounts. That would be running a guitar and bass into the 1/4", running out from the USB into the computer, from Pod Farm into Sony Acid with no other faults or problems. Again, I have headphones coming out instead of monitors, so basically 3 things on this are used. The equipment that I'm using varies by instrument and sound capabilities and things like that. I'm using 2 basses and 1 guitar. If you want to hear about the ESP-B55 bass that I'm going to be using, click right over here. It'll take you to the specification video for that. If you want to hear more about the Squier P bass that I'm going to be using, click right over here, and it'll take you to a video for that. And if you want to hear about the Dean Vendetta guitar that I'm going to be using, click right above my head, and it'll take you to that video to show you more on that guitar. All the drums have been programmed using Easy Drummer. I don't actually record any drums with this device at all, but you will get an idea of what a full song will sound like without any vocals. Keep in mind though that the guitar that I'm using, or the instruments that I'm using, are all passive. Active instruments do make a bit of a difference when it comes to recording. Now, you might not be able to hear the difference in the recordings that I have per se because I haven't worked too hard on them, just to give you a basic idea of what this box sounds like, but having an active instrument truly does help because you can switch the EQs and things like that on basses. Active pickups give you more headroom, things like that, so you might be able to hear the difference if you have heard another active instrument on an interface before. But then again, it's something that's going to be a preference thing, so you might not actually know. But here is how these instruments sound with the Line 6 UX2 interface. So that's what it sounds like. I hope you guys really like the demos, because some of them I had to work a little bit harder on, some things I had to use more skill on the other, but they're not professional recordings, they're not completely done, they're not as good as they can be, but they are a beginning start to how each things will sound at the most basic that this device can go. Again, I don't use all the features on here, but if you use your imaginations and the features that you know how to use on this device, then you might be able to get even better recordings than I have. But they are semi-professional sounding recordings. I think that they're really cool. I think that for ideas, and I think that for small demos and small reels of music that you create yourself, this thing works really well, especially with what you just heard, because you can kind of use your imagination and run the possibilities endlessly. This, compared with other devices, could actually make some of the greatest recordings you've ever heard or some of the worst recordings you've ever heard. It really depends on how you know how to record and how much effort you really put into each recording song and what equipment that you're really using. And something that a lot of people don't really understand is it sometimes does matter the equipment that you're using per se, because if you don't really have a good sounding guitar or a good sounding bass or a good sounding, whatever, you might not be getting the full potential of what this can do, because it'll pick up basically anything that you are recording through. Again, it's not all in the equipment that you're using. It does have more to do with the skill that you're using the device with, but you might be running into these problems depending on how you use the device. The pros: it's a inexpensive, cool device that works for what it does, for things that goes as far as advanced uses. It's lightweight. Everything in the box comes there with it for you to use. It comes with actually an abundance of things. You have an abundance of recording software. You don't actually need all the software it comes with. I don't actually use any of the recording software. I only use the modeling that this thing comes with because I kind of have to. It's one of the first interfaces that I've used that actually worked out of the box in my house. I have gone through maybe 4 different interfaces, with the exception of the video that I pointed to in the beginning of this video. No other interfaces worked for me, and I have tried everything. And when I look at the reviews, people have the same problems. This is actually one of the first ones in the price range that I had it in. It worked, and it worked this well. I think it's really cool, and I think that the potential that this thing has gives it a really good thumbs up to buy. Some cons are really about personal preference. If you want something that's going to sound amazing, like a mixer, this might not be the thing for you. If you don't really know too much about sound recording, things like that, this might be the device for you, because you might not be able to use it as easily as other devices. Again, it's kind of easy to use, and I was able to get it up and running pretty quickly. I kind of determined that by the speed of the fact that I get the device to the end product that I have the recording. So using that ratio, you might not want to get something like this if you're first-time computer user or anything like that. Again, that's really trivial, and that really depends on who you are. Another problem that this thing has is it's really lightweight. Now, this might be a pro for some people. I think that it could be a con, because if you're going to be taking this in places, or you're going to be traveling with it, because it is kind of light and it's really cool that you can have a little device recording studio around with you, you can drop this and it'll break, and I pretty much think that you cannot repair something like this. Again, with the warranty that it has, you might be able to get another one. I'm not sure, but I really wouldn't want to risk it. So the fact that it's really lightweight and it kind of feels like it can break, and it feels like it's a bit cheaper than other devices, I would say that it's a bit of a con. I would say that you have to take a little bit more care of this than other devices out there. If you're going to be carrying this around with you, I'd get a special carrying case just for it. And what I use this thing for is personal recording. I don't use this for my band. I don't use this for anybody else but me. I record only my instruments, and if I ever have the idea to sing, or if I ever have just the craze for it, I will sing through this, but I will do it all myself. This is going to be used just for me. I'm not going to have other bands come in. I'm not going to record other bands with this. I'm probably not going to be doing any drum recording with this by having just one mic around it and see if I can get some good mic placement, even though I know you can. I'm not going to be using it for that. So what you just heard, ideas like that to send back and forth from my guitarist, back and forth to other singers, something that I can actually have as a portfolio, so to speak, so something that I can have to record things for auditions. I'm going to be using this for that. I'm probably going to be using this for some songs that I'm going to be making for this channel alone, that I'm going to be doing just by myself. This isn't going to be something that's going to be on a CD. I'm not going to be selling any songs that I've written on this, so I'm just going to be using it for a very basic device, and it works really well for what I want it for. I recommend that you use it for almost the same reasons that I'm using it for, and you also use this for other ideas. If you want to utilize everything that's on here. I mean, it has great possibilities. You can get some amazing recordings with this thing because it has a lot of options. Again, other interfaces have the same options or even more, but you might be paying more. So something that's really cool about this device is that it's at the price range that it's at, and it gives you some good room to move around and do whatever you want with this thing. And you might even actually be able to stretch it out and record a full band with this and get your first couple demos out there so you can have your name out there and things like that. So this device has a lot of potential and can do a lot. If you do covers on YouTube, you can run your instrument in here, record it that way, and then sync it up with your video, rather than trying to trust your computer mic or your camera mic to record you, because this thing is going to be a lot better than that, and it get your view up and things like that. That has been the Line 6 UX2 USB interface review. If you guys have any questions or ideas and comments, things like that, please comment below. I will try to get updated as much as I can on this device because I'm really excited about it. I think it's really cool. And if you guys want to hear more from this device itself, then drop me a line. I'll try to put up some things on Twitter or Tumblr, things like that, so you guys can get to it. Thank you for watching, and I will see you next time.